So when we speak of investing in women, I am reminded of how empowering it is when young women and girls feel lifted and not limited, and to benefit from what I feel I had, which is a nurturing environment where one can be confident that there are no limits to how high you can reach and no limits to your ambitions. Thank you very much for the kind introduction, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, les amis, collègues, good morning, bonjour, and annyeonghaseyo. As you know, my name is Tamara, and I'm Canada's ambassador to the Republic of Korea, and this is a great honor for Canada and for me personally to be able to celebrate International Women's Day with all of you, friends, colleagues, here this morning. And just to emphasize, maybe a little look ahead to later in my comments, I also want to express appreciation to so many of our male colleagues who are here this morning. Great to see gentlemen, he for she, and important for us all to celebrate and reflect on what International Women's Day means here in Seoul. First off, also, I would like to congratulate Director Lee for organizing this event. Very shortly after I arrived in Seoul, I attended your launch event of the UN Center for Excellence. What a long way it's come. You've achieved great things already. You're a factor of influence and change, and that's terrific. Congratulations also to a friend, and if I may be so bold, a mentor, President Eun-mi Kim, for your role now as National Goodwill Ambassador for UN Women here in the Republic of Korea. And thank you for your remarks this morning. On this International Women's Day, we celebrate achievements and how far we've come. And we look ahead to how much farther we must go. And I find those statistics about 300 years rather discouraging. Women have won hard-fought social and economic battles, still so much to be done. And the theme today, investing in women to accelerate progress. As a proud feminist representing Canada here in Korea, and for Canada, a country whose foreign policy is firmly anchored in principles of gender equality, this theme really resonated deeply with me. So I was going to start with the hard part, sharing some personal reflections, and then from there perhaps attempt to draw some general conclusions on what it means to invest in women and girls, and why it's such an imperative need. And why I feel that we need to do so by engaging men and boys as active partners. So just on a personal level, I have to say the question I'm asked most frequently here, since I've been here on assignment, is asked about my experience as a female diplomat, as a working mother. And like many of us here today who were here at last year's UN Women celebration of International Women's Day, I was so struck by Professor Sohn's great resonant line, "I come from a long line of strong Korean women." And every day that phrase resonates with me, and I take the measure of all the strength that it conjures up in meetings and following the news and in reflecting on the many challenges that we face globally. So then I had to think, what's my line? Today I wanted to focus on, I am my father's daughter. My father was, in his active life, a lawyer, also a Canadian diplomat. So I started, statistically speaking, with many advantages. But reflecting on my upbringing, I'm very struck by my father's absolute conviction that gender equality was important. And he's a conservative man, but he never boxed me in with gendered expectations. And to the contrary, he nurtured my ambitions, sometimes inadvertently. There's an expression, an old quote from early in the last century: "Behind every great man is a surprising woman." and lots to reflect on there. And one of my early recollections is my father making a slight mistake in conveying that expression, perhaps a Freudian slip, and saying instead, behind every great man is a surprised woman, which caused everyone to laugh. And I can remember turning that all over in my head. Why surprising? Why surprised? But perhaps most importantly, why behind? Shouldn't it be beside? In front even? And what about the men behind or beside great women? So to my father's credit, he was all about beside. And gendered barriers were not something that he seemed to see. I personally experienced some of them in academia. I remember my first week as an eager undergraduate, age 17. My assigned academic advisor, a very intimidating and eminent historian of Canadian political science, dismissed my expressed aspirations to go to law school or join the Foreign Service like my father, and he declined to suggest any related course of study, which of course, a contrario, was great advice, because I then took courses that really I wanted to take and perhaps gave me the marks that allowed me to go to law school and join the Foreign Service. And I would say that I also saw many gendered barriers working in a law firm where I started my career, and an opportunity to reflect that the law and legislation is such a vitally important tool for gender equality, both legislation but also its implementation. And yet the practitioners in the legal profession, and perhaps there's some lawyers here, are sometimes far from exemplary in terms of gender equality. Equally important to me, therefore, has also been having a supportive employer, and for me, the Public Service of Canada. And since joining Canada's Foreign Service, I have to say most of my supervisors, mentors, guidance counselors have been male, but they have all been seized of the importance of inclusiveness and diversity. It is only a few decades ago that female Foreign Service officers in Canada were given a choice when they married. They could resign or not marry if they wish to continue their careers. And I'm not certain what the presumption was, but that was changed in 1971. But still, a full 16 years after the Canadian government had removed restrictions on married women in other government departments. So what a change a few decades can make. Progress is nul n'arrête le progrès. But while not without its flaws, the Public Service of Canada has, over the course of my career, certainly set out to be truly representative of Canada's demography, and the Foreign Service in particular. And it has championed gender-based analysis of policies and programs. So when we speak of investing in women, I am reminded of how empowering it is when young women and girls feel lifted and not limited, and to benefit from what I feel I had, which is a nurturing environment where one can be confident that there are no limits to how high you can reach and no limits to your ambitions. So enough about me. What do we mean by investing in women? And investing in women can mean many things. It means closing the gender pay gap so that women earn equal pay for equal work and can achieve their full economic potential. Investing in women means providing funding, training, networking for women entrepreneurs and women-owned startups. Supporting women's business leadership stimulates economic growth and innovation. Investing in women means encouraging girls and women to pursue careers in high-paying fields like STEM, where women are still underrepresented. And that was, as I recall, also an important theme at last year's International Women's Day celebration. But also law and diplomacy, which from firsthand experience I say are great careers. Investing in women means providing affordable, quality childcare to remove barriers to women's workforce participation, developing corporate cultures that actively support working parents, not just working women, working men and women. This includes flexible work options that allow women and men to balance family and career without penalty. And I've been very fortunate to work for a government that has allowed me to do this, raising 2 sons alongside my day job. So maternity leave, parental leave, was a crucial element for me in maintaining my career aspirations. Investing in women means closing hiring and promotion gaps so that women have equal opportunities to advance in their careers. And it's about challenging unconscious bias, dismantling systems that favor men over equally qualified women, such as in recruitment and promotions. Equitable advancement pathways allow women to reach their full leadership potential. Investing in women means electing more women to high-level leadership positions in both the private and public sectors. Favorite mantra for us has been, you cannot be what you cannot see. And so gender diversity in leadership leads to better governance and innovation. And in Canada's Foreign Service, just on a micro level, half of all of our heads of mission or ambassadors globally are women. And because employees are given a fair and equal chance to reach these positions. Still a long way to go for many other underrepresented groups, notably Indigenous, disabled, visible minorities, but it's a step. And investing in women also means supporting and advancing the women, peace, and security agenda. And the evidence is clear. When women are playing a more active and meaningful role in conflict prevention and resolution, peace building, peacekeeping, peace is more durable and sustainable. We need to invest in women being in the room where it happens. That is, making decisions in the defense and security policy context that matter. We need to invest in women wearing a military or police uniform, in women in the local communities most impacted by conflict and most impactful for peace. We all hope for this in the context of any conversations about a peaceful future for the Korean Peninsula. Investing in women means robust prevention and response to gender-based violence, including domestic violence and sexual harassment. Women cannot fully participate in society when violence threatens their safety and dignity. Investing in women also means caring for and defending the rights of women and girls at home, but also abroad. Women's rights can never be taken for granted. We need to remain vigilant in the face of multiple threats, sometimes open, sometimes insidious, that women and girls are facing around the world. Women's rights are human rights. And I would like to have a special thought today for the women and girls living not far from here in North Korea, where their rights and liberties are violated every day in a systemic way. And today, the Canadian Embassy was also hosting an event to support investigative, tireless work by many South Korean NGOs and organizations to support human rights in North Korea, and particularly for women and girls. Ultimately, investing in women means ensuring that everyone has a real and fair chance to succeed. It's about creating a society where both women and men can fully participate and lead in every sphere, social, economic, political. Investing in women is the right thing to do, and it yields returns that we cannot ignore. As we've heard, listening to the facts, study after study shows that when we open opportunities for women, for everyone, our economies grow, poverty falls, nations prosper. So it's also the smart thing to do. So that sort of outlines our commitments, the work plan. How do we accelerate progress in this, yet again, a decisive decade? Critical to our success, I believe, is engaging men as allies, partners, co-beneficiaries. And I think, Director Lee, you said this in an interview recently, gender equality is not a zero-sum game. It should empower women without disempowering men, and it benefits entire societies overall. So this is not about elevating women at the expense of men, nor is it about excluding men as we lift women up. Too often, gender equality is incorrectly labeled as a women's issue. And in truth, it has to be seen as a societal issue, requiring the involvement of all genders to achieve equitable, inclusive institutions. It can be challenging, yes, but it remains an essential objective. With men as partners, we double our capacity for progress. So the UN Women also hosted a powerful event late last year on this theme, urging us all to rethink men's engagement in the care economy as a positive, not a chore. Win-win. In Canada, we are trying to engage also with men and boys in the journey to gender equality through initiatives like, and I'll give the title, It's Time, Canada's Strategy to Prevent and Address Gender-Based Violence. And this has really sought to emphasize the need to shape attitudes, education, behaviors amongst men and boys to foster healthy relationships based on respect. And the government is funding programs across the country to challenge harmful conceptions of masculinity and to try and shift social norms. We've also initiated a series of roundtable discussions across the country on engaging men and boys for gender equality. And I think conversations of this kind here in Korea could be very helpful. Men and boys are a vital part of the conversation because they themselves are harmed by outdated stereotypes of their own identities and could benefit from greater gender equality. Men can experience unfair societal expectations, such as feeling the need to project toughness or being discouraged from expressing emotions or empathy. And so engaging men and boys can support better outcomes for them as well. Spoken like a mother of two sons. Progress really depends on partnership. And so I ask the men here today to make a pledge to encourage conversations between and amongst us on equality and discrimination, to pledge to seize opportunities to amplify diverse voices, be it in meetings or conferences, but also policymaking, and to pledge to be ambassadors and advocates for equal pay, for men's participation in the care economy, for family-friendly policies, to pledge to replace the zero-sum game with win-win. So I'm confident and hopeful that today's event can serve as leverage for all of us, women and men, policymakers, leaders, change agents, to identify areas for individual and collective action. Canada certainly stands ready to work alongside the Republic of Korea, as well as our other international partners, on our shared goals to advance gender equality and women's economic empowerment around the world. Thank you. Merci beaucoup. Kamsahamnida.